So I'll kick things off with a question that we've pre-prepared for you all. What advice would you give someone starting a career in engineering? Jodie?
I think because engineering is such a broad area to go into, don't limit yourself. So take a look at all of the possible opportunities out there. Look at different sectors because there are so many things you can do in each sector. And remember that as an engineer, it is a very interdisciplinary role. So you can get hands-on experience in many different aspects of engineering. So yeah, don't limit yourself to the possibilities that are out there.
I think I'd say similar of the same. I think even within civil engineering, you can specify into like structural, temporary works. There's such a range of sort of set disciplines that you can go into, and I think don't feel like if you've chosen one, then that's it, because you can always go into different aspects. And also, like with engineering, it's a lot of practical skills. So, further in my career, I'm going to go into project management, which I feel like is good to start as an engineer, because you learn those skills that can develop, and they're very transferable.
Yeah, I think those are some really good points. I think one of the things that I would say, based on what I've done, is to not be afraid to try lots of different things out. So I've done a year in industry, I've done work experience and summer placements in different companies, and each of those I've taken away a great deal from each of those and those industries that I worked in, and been able to transfer that to kind of my next step. So don't be afraid to try out different things, and also to move on quickly when you think that thing isn't the right thing for you at that time.
I would really say to think thoroughly this option, because it's not easy to be an engineer. It takes so many responsibilities. You have to be responsible for what's out there, if it's going to stand. Okay, from a structural point of view, yeah. But think thoroughly before you decide. But at the same time, do not be discouraged. I encourage people to, yes, pursue a career in civil or structural or any kind of engineering.
Yeah, I think I would like to add on to that. Although it is quite a stressful environment, some of our actions can have implications out in the real world. But that's why we train, that's why we go to university, that's why we come to these events, that's why we have these institutions, because they all help us grow to become that person that can one day sit there and go, yes, in your case, for instance, that building will stand up because you will have the training and the support and everything to go with it. And although it's very stressful and there's lots of responsibility, the payback and the reward from knowing that I made that building stand up or whatever, you won't have that satisfaction from any other job, I don't think.
Yes, I completely agree. I finished off my RC details for my first building, and I'm praying every single night, please, please, God, make it done. Oh my God.
Where's this building?
We're not gonna tell you.
Moving on. Any other questions from anyone in the audience? Go on, Christian.
So recently in the news this week, I think someone might know more than me, there was someone from the Royal College of Surgeons saying that surgeons these days, they're lacking the manual dexterity skills to actually do the cutting and the sewing aspects of surgery. What skill would you say is not currently being taught in university that is most important for engineering undergraduates and early career engineers to learn?
Anyone can chip in.
I think for me personally, what I would have liked to have learned more about at uni is business and enterprise skills and how that ties in as an engineer. I've got aspirations of maybe one day setting up my own business, but at the moment I don't know the commercial side to engineering. I don't really have a good enough understanding to be confident at this stage as an engineer to make that move. So I'd really like to see business skills taught more at university on engineering courses.
I think for civils, surveying. So when I was at university, we did like one semester on surveying, and everyone failed it. Everyone did it like 3 or 4 times. Some people did it like 6 times. And it's such a key part of my role. Like, I had to actually learn how to use a total station so we can set out things, making sure they're in the right place, making sure that what we designed is built as per design. And it's such a skill that I did not learn at university. Even though we had the capability for it to be taught, we didn't actually learn it enough. And I also think quantity surveying skills, so similar to what Jodie said with the commercial aspect. You can do a degree in quantity surveying, but I think as engineers, it's a common knowledge that we lack the financial understanding of what we're doing. So, we want to build this massive thing, but we have no understanding of the cost aspect of it. So maybe a little bit more detail on how the things that we have built and how much they cost and how much you can't spend.
So I think the first thing I would say is that perhaps we won't actually have people doing surgery in the future. Maybe they'll be replaced by robots who will be better than people. So that's why I hope will happen. But in terms of other skills, I think we should be teaching at universities. I think innovation is a really hot topic, and I think it's definitely something we should be doing more of. But I think it's slightly wider than that as well in terms of just the softer skills that are needed in the workplace. I think all of our universities and everybody is so focused on getting the best grades in certain technical disciplines that sometimes we miss some of the softer things. So along the side of presentation skills, innovation, marketing, commercialization of ideas, it's all important things.
Yes, I would say sustainability in general, because you know what? Okay, I'm a structural engineer. She's a civil engineer, but generally, okay, we will design this concrete, this beam, this column, whatever, but we will not see the aspect of sustainability in the uni. We will, okay, have some courses, yeah, but I think every aspect of engineering needs to have inherently put into practice some sustainability. Like, I mean, personally, I have 2 degrees, and I don't have any courses on sustainability. And I don't know how to design a sustainable structure, let's say, to save some concrete, save some steel.
That's a very good point. My master's that I've selected is a building services master's with focus on sustainable energy.
Exactly, yeah. You
So
need to specialize in this.
You need to be aware of options out there. I think the hardest thing for an engineer is, because we're all smart people, we've all come where we are, but it's getting our idea out of our head. Being able to communicate with other people and making them see your vision the way you see it is a very important skill. One that I'm not the best at, but I'm working on it. And I think that is something that should really be focused on in universities.
I just want to add one point on there, actually, based on what Angeliki said earlier. It was talking about her building falling down. One of the key aspects for me working in the nuclear sector is, am I fit to sign something off saying it is fit for purpose, it's not going to break or anything? So trying to get those safety messages across is also a very key aspect in engineering for me personally, and I'm sure some of the other people on the panel agree with that as well.
Yes.
Any other questions? Yes, over at the back there.
It's really great to see that the panel has got 3 very intelligent females, and I think you should be praised for that. But I just wondered your view, what has changed? We started tonight by saying that this was an industry that was predominantly male, and I'm just wondering if the females, has something changed? Is there now more females in the industry? Are you typical of a change in the industry?
I think the proportion of females in engineering is gradually increasing. It's now at around 11%. A couple of years ago, it was only 9%. So it's only gradual. But I think nowadays there are a lot more engineers out in industry that realise the importance of a diverse workforce. There's a whole business case behind that and why diversity is important in the workplace. And people have taken it upon themselves to get involved in initiatives like STEM Ambassador Scheme. So actively going out and trying to promote engineering careers to everybody and trying to remove misconceptions about who can be an engineer. And that's really important. And I'd like to see more of that going forwards as well.
I would say that definitely at entry level, there are a lot more females in the industry, but you know, to a certain extent, I can still often walk in a room and be the only female, like a lot of the times, most days, in fact. However, like where I work at the moment, in the department I work in, it has a very nice split of female and male, and I had a choice of where I wanted to work. And after choosing that and discussing with one of my colleagues, I think I came to the conclusion that I decided to work there because of that increased female split. So I think definitely at entry level, companies are making a significant effort to introduce women, but it's very difficult to probably find women with the experience in engineering. But they do exist. I met a lady on site, and I was just, when you see a woman on site, you're just so excited. It's like, oh my gosh, I have a friend. And you instantly just start talking to them. So you have that connection, and it's always nice to like see a female that's been there, you know, 30 years ago, before it was like, where are the women? And they are the real kind of inspiration. So they do exist, and they are most likely they're gems. And a lot of them are more consultants, so they don't necessarily work for a company, so they move around. And I think those are the ladies that can really inspire us as entry level to see what we can achieve.
I mean, you can hear from everybody. I guess I can comment actually. So where I work at Dyson, we have an undergraduate engineering program where students can come and work and study at the same time, so that they're taught on site with us and also work in the same project teams. And the target for that group of people is that it's 50-50 male and female. But obviously it's much easier to do it at that stage because you're not taking from the already diminished group of people that have chosen to do engineering at university. You can take people straight from school. So I think it really takes a focused effort from everyone, both companies and universities, to try and keep the pipeline a diverse pipeline all the way through.
Yeah, I would say that it's the older, maybe generations that are prejudiced towards female and male in these kind of industries. Like I work in an office that we are only 3 structural engineers female, but we get the same amount of giving out from our boss as maybe more than a man. You know what I mean? Maybe in some cases they expect more out of a woman. But additionally, I would say that there is not such an opinion out there. For women, I haven't come across, a racism in brackets. No, I have never come across anything like that. I think everything has changed, and we are in a good process of getting more and more female out there working on site, telling off other men as they should be, they should be doing, yes. So
I got to be careful what I say as well, or how I say it rather. I think often a big stumbling block is us as individuals or women themselves. There's a hunger out there to include women in engineering, and the first step that you need to take is to realise that just because you're a woman doesn't mean anything about your fitting into a role as an engineer. That's an old thing, it's gone. So don't be a stumbling block for yourself. It's probably not going to be easy, and you probably will come across something in your career, but don't make yourself stumble on it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, this gentleman just here.
So Sam said that 5 years ago his job didn't exist with Dyson. So I was just looking out for some tips. How do you make sure that your skills and competencies stay in pace with the moving market, with a market that has lots of technological change as well?
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to predict what might be available in the future. So I'd say if you focus on transferable skills, perhaps, things like the softer skills, communication. In terms of technical, at the moment, systems thinking seems to be quite on trend. It's what a lot of companies are looking for. Perhaps try and immerse yourself in predictions in your industry that you're interested in. So try and get some commercial awareness around that. Look at Industry 4.0, for example. See what new technologies are coming about and emerging. And if that ties in with what you're interested in, then look at how you can develop skills towards that.
I would say it can come naturally. So it's just in your day-to-day work, you might just see a task that's just, why are we doing it this way? For example, in civils, in utilities, we hit a lot of buried services. When we dig up the ground, we hit services, and that can cost £30,000 to £40,000 every time we hit one. And that doesn't include, like, for example, Network Rail, they fine you, or the UKPN will fine you, and things like that. So kind of in the civils, utilities idea, it's like, why do we need to dig the hole in the first place? If the problem is hitting the service, why do we need to dig the hole? So we're looking into other, like, keyhole technologies, or putting in fibre cables for internet into water pipes which are already connected into the houses, so we don't need to dig a hole, and Virgin Media doesn't need to dig up the ground, for example. So I think it's very easy to kind of look at your day-to-day. Even myself, I've looked into innovations in my company. So we dig down, we use temporary works. It's heavy, it's not easy to use. The guys on site don't like using it, so let's look for an alternative. So it's just about keeping your eye open and being a problem solver, which is kind of what engineers do anyway.
Yeah, those are some really good points. I think one of the things that I did whilst I was at university was I made sure that I used all of the kind of project time that I had to work on problems that I knew were kind of hard, and using technology that I knew were new and emerging. So I think it's all too easy sometimes to go after things that you think might be an easy route whilst you're at university in terms of getting good grades. But that's a fantastic opportunity actually to experiment with new technologies and kind of get ahead of the curve in that sense. And then once you get into the workplace, don't be afraid to try out new things, try out new technologies, and kind of act as ambassadors for those in the company, because that's really the role of young people in companies nowadays, is to do that.
I would say that it's very difficult to keep up with the technologies from day to day, because you are very concentrated and focused on what you're doing on an everyday life. So if you say, okay, I have this deliverables list for tonight, and maybe I will be very tired to go back home and search for something new. And I really believe that it's the need that drives the innovation. So I think at some stage you will need to find something innovative. So this will, feed you so that you will create something new. Of course, you need to be aware of new technologies, but maybe during the weekend or things like that. But you have to be very motivated about what you do. Otherwise you will not deal with this. This is my point of view.
I think one important thing, I can't really comment on the other institutions, but my institution, for instance, we have something called a CPD,
Yes.
That comes out in the journal every month, that gets sent out. You are expected to do that CPD, you complete it online, it goes on your record, and a CPD stands for Continual Professional Development. And there's one thing that everyone needs to understand who is looking forward to a career in engineering, is when you finish your degree, when you finish your master's, you're not going to be finished. That will be the start. You'll continue learning, and you'll have to continue learning, and it's something that your institution will expect from you, especially if you become chartered, is to keep involved and keep with the trends and to get knowledge from things. But there's also other things you can do. For instance, within our company, we have what we call champions. So we'll have, because especially with building services, there's so many aspects of things. One person will be a heating champion and the other one will be a ventilation champion. And what they will do is they will sort of look after that aspect. And if there's new regulations or new innovations or anything, we'll do an internal like a meeting, and they'll educate everyone in the company. And that's something that you have to actively do, like you said. You have to go fish for it. But the institutions, like I say, do help you with the CPDs and all that sort of thing.
And it's worth adding that engineering these days is so multidisciplinary that there's so much crossover between civil, structural, etc., mechanical, that even if you are almost struggling to keep up with new technologies, there's a lot of read across from similar disciplines. Any other questions? We've got about maybe time for one more at the back there.
Yeah, so have you guys taken anything away from tonight? Are there any particular insights, or in generally, have you learned anything new from each other?
I think the key thing to take away from tonight is that engineers don't exist purely in one discipline. We cross over all the time. Engineering projects consist of teams of interdisciplinary engineers. There's a lot of teamwork in engineering, and all of the institutions around us play a huge part in helping to develop engineers as well.
I've taken away that I think the five of us, we've come sort of from different roots and kind of different backgrounds, but it's like we've sort of achieved sort of similar things in the same direction. We're all from different institutions, different degrees, but we've all, taken our evening out to sort of come here and just talk about the things that we do and get involved in our institutions. I think that the young members' boards in each of theirs and sort of the graduate student network, we're all doing similar activities to not just inform and encourage each other, but also promote engineering in general. And I think it's really important to have these kind of networks because, like we said, we're all from different disciplines, but we could all end up with a job next week together in the same building, even working on the same project. And engineering industry is very small. I saw one of my friends on Jodie's PowerPoint presentation, and I was like, I went to school with her. It was great. So I think, the fact that engineering is really, you can't just stick to civil. I work on an electrical project with an electrical and a mechanical and a surveyor, and it's so connected. The world's connected.
So I've personally found it really interesting hearing everybody's stories. Like you mentioned, we've all come different routes and ended up in different places, but it just reminds you that everything, is all very connected in a way. But also, I think we need to really think about how we can do more of this and get together not just the people that are already engaged in younger member networks with institutions, but how we try and get engineers talking to each other that are from different disciplines, because I think there can be a lot to be gained from that.
Yeah, as of tonight's event, I'm really keen on, engaging with more engineers, more mechanical engineers, more electrical engineers, more building service engineers, more civil engineers, because as I said, on an everyday life, it's easy to get in a trap, to fall in the trap, and lose contact with the outside environment if you're stuck in the office. But the important thing is to remember that we are all into this, and we, as everybody said so far, we are coming from different backgrounds, different roots, different languages, and even me, I'm not a native speaker, but you get the point. You get the point, you know what I mean, you know what I'm talking about, and I think this is amazing, and you know what I think is even more amazing, that me and Georgia today, yes, try to talk about the same thing without even knowing each other before. Like, I mean, we met like 5 minutes prior to the start of this event, and I said, oh my God, I'm so stressed about this, and I didn't know that this was so formal. Oh my God, she told me exactly the same, and I'm gonna talk about my failures and how I achieved all this, blah, 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 blah. Yes, and it was amazing. I mean, every time I am even more motivated to know more people, to get out there, you know, to meet you, and everybody. And, you know, if I may be of help, if I may be of some kind of inspiration to you, this is what I'm taking out today. Like, I mean, I weigh with me. I'm very happy that I told you my story, shared my passion, shared my knowledge, shared everything that I had to give you tonight. So, yeah.
I think what I'm going to take away from tonight is don't write your presentation in the lunchtime before you're doing it. But like you said, our failures are is something to learn from. And I think listening to the other panel members is taking the opportunities that you are provided with. Like me, for instance, I took this opportunity. I didn't take it very well, but I'm here, I'm sat in a chair, I'm talking to some people, hopefully inspiring them to a career, and I'm sure we're going to go away and have some nice drinks and talk some more, but that's what I'll take away from tonight, is take your opportunities and make the most out of them.
Great, thank you. Can we give a final round of applause and thank our 5 speakers?